I forgot how good this project guitar turned out. What's up guys, Kyle here again, and welcome back to another episode of Faqn Friday. I figured we would start these episodes out with a little riffy dude just to kind of mix it up a little bit, get some different guitars on screen that I don't normally play, and I was playing through one of my Purple Nightmare Quad Cortex captures. I have Neural Quad Cortex capture packs available. I also have Kemper profile packs available. If you guys would like to help support the channel and get yourself some sick tones at the same time, I will have info on those down below in the description of this video, and I would really appreciate it, especially because I just found out that I am going to 42 Gear Street in Germany this year with Henning Pauly, Andrew Baena, Hunter, Agufish, as you guys may know him, and a bunch of other awesome content creators, and it's gonna be a really expensive trip that I have to pay out of pocket for. So anything that you guys can do to support the channel would be really appreciated, because that is gonna turn out to be a pricey trip, but I'm gonna get to meet all sorts of awesome brands to bring more content to you guys, so that's why I'm doing it. And of course, as usual, my affiliate links and my Patreon all apply. All that stuff is down below in the description of this video if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks. All right, guys, so before we jump into the questions this week, a couple things that I wanted to touch on. It's been kind of a sad couple of weeks in the hardcore and metal community. A few days ago, a friend of mine passed, Pete Kowalski, AKA Mean Pete. He was the lead vocalist of Remembering Never, Bishop, Until the End for a little while, and he also was the lead vocalist and guitarist of Ether Coven. If you guys are anything like me, a lot of those bands meant a lot to you growing up in the early 2000s hardcore and metalcore scene, and I was lucky enough to be able to call Pete a friend over the last 10 years or so. He was one of the nicest, most down-to-earth dudes that you could imagine, and unfortunately, he lost his battle with colon cancer over the last few days, so I just wanted to dedicate this episode to him. He really was an incredibly kind person, and anybody that knew him would tell you that. So rest in peace, Pete, and if you guys haven't listened to any of those bands, I urge you to go check them out. I'll put links down below in the description, but Remembering Never and Bishop especially are two bands that meant a lot to me. So I've been spinning those a lot over the last couple of days, and it's brought back a lot of memories. So this one's for you, man. And also another sad bit of news. The band Year of the Knife, unfortunately, I believe it was like sometime early last week, was involved in a really bad van accident when they were on tour. Pretty much every member of the band was hospitalized. The guitarist and drummer ended up with broken legs and broken ankles, but their singer, Maddie, is in really bad condition. As far as I know, she's been in a coma. She's gonna require a whole bunch of surgeries, and Brandon is going to stay out there with her over the course of all this. They're gonna be out there for a long time. It's gonna be a really expensive and tough couple of months for them. So they have a GoFundMe set up, and I urge you guys, if you would like to help them at all, head over to that GoFundMe and donate whatever you can. I know that it would mean a ton to them to help out. The link to that GoFundMe will be down below in the description of this video, and I appreciate anyone who heads over there to donate. All right, so starting off on a little bit of a sad note, but we're gonna bring it back up. We're gonna answer some questions. Here we go. All right, guys, these first set of questions come from my Patreon community. If you would like first dibs at these Faqn Friday questions and would like to support the channel in the meantime, head on over to that Patreon and consider signing up. I would really appreciate it. I feel like I'm saying that a lot this video. Joel Sabo asks, is there a best time of day or day of the week for your community to pester you with our shenanigans so as to get a response without interfering with your work-life balance? This is a two-parter, so I'm gonna touch on that real quick. All right, Joel, so that's actually kind of giving me an idea. I really should set aside a particular day of the week where I kind of interact with people. I am notoriously bad at replying to messages. Pretty much ever since I've started this YouTube thing, I've started to hate my phone just because it's just constantly going off with notifications and stuff like that. And I've kind of turned off all of my notifications on my phone. I just was getting increasingly tied to being on my phone and trying to respond to everybody that I could, and it causing me a whole lot of anxiety to basically feel like I was constantly on the hook for people. So I've kind of gotten to the point where I just turn off all my notifications, and then when I'm in a social mood, I'll kind of come on here and just start replying to whatever I can. So if you've ever reached out to me and you haven't gotten a response, just please be patient. I try to do my best to get back to everybody who asks me questions because I really do appreciate the engagement from you guys. So with that being said, Joel, I may end up setting aside a certain day of the week where that's where I upload my weekly Patreon update. That's where I kind of converse with you guys in the comments and in messages a little bit more. So if it does come to that, I will certainly let you guys know when that is. Second part of that question is, regardless, I am looking forward to more incorrect tones from that Mesa Boogie DC5. You handled that Facebook exchange like an assertive gent. So I'm sure most of you guys don't know what Joel is talking about here, but recently I got a Mesa Boogie DC5. Of course, there will be a video coming on that soon, but I posted a clip of the amp in a certain Facebook group, and this is a really well-known Facebook group when it comes to like metal-related guitar gear. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, every time I post in that group, a certain moderator basically just sticks his entire day into trying to shit on all of my posts. So most recently, I posted that DC5 clip in there, and him and his friends were basically just telling me
how I don't know how to dial the amp in and how I'm not doing it justice and my clips sound terrible.
And honestly, instead of getting upset, I kind of just treated all of those comments as entertainment, because that's truly what they are to me at this point. Like, there is a very clear line between constructive criticism and someone just purposely putting energy into trying to tear you down because they don't like you. And that is firmly where all of these people's comments fall in this particular scenario. So when it goes down like that, I literally just kind of have fun with them in the comments. I troll them without them even realize they're being trolled. And it's also, I can basically just kind of have a laugh at it because it's ridiculous. Like, we're talking about guitar gear. And most of these instances, including when I post comments from like the YouTube comment section and stuff like that, you get people who just get really, really angry over my opinions, which I always state are my personal opinions. You're open to feel however you want. That's what makes all of this so much fun, in my personal opinion. Again, it's an opinion, but that we all hear things differently, we all feel things differently, and we can all feel passionate about our choices and the things that we like, but in the end, we all have to really realize that those are our opinions, and to literally get upset over somebody else's opinion not matching up with yours on guitar gear of all things in the world, like, you just kind of have to laugh at those comments, and that's what I do, and I hope that you guys get a kick out of that stuff too. A lot of people seem to think that I actually take these comments personally when I post them, but I'm always usually just replying with something snarky and, you know, kind of having a laugh and hoping that other people get a laugh out of it too. And that's really what it's all about for me. So yeah, thanks, Joel. I try to get a laugh out of those situations, and I hope that it brings you guys a little bit of entertainment too, because in reality, none of this stuff is important. Lionheart Jason asks, what is your workout routine, bro? Yeah, so some of you guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I kind of got back into lifting for the first time in a really, really long time, trying to take my physical health a little bit more seriously, because like the last 6 months or so, man, I have just been cramming myself full of junk food. And a lot of you guys probably don't know this, but I'm actually about 100 pounds down from my heaviest. I was overweight most of my life, and in the past 3 years, I've really kind of tried to focus on maintaining my health, especially from a longevity standpoint. And I just haven't been doing a real good job of that lately. So trying to get my diet back on point, which is always the most important. Diet should always be your number one focus. But as far as workout routines, man, I don't really have one. At the moment, I'm really trying hard to commit to full body weight lifting sessions 3 days a week, getting ample rest, getting ample sleep, and getting my diet on point, because that is gonna be more than enough for what I'm trying to achieve, which is just overall healthy lifestyle, I guess. I'm not really into getting jacked anymore like I was when I was a kid. So I guess long story short, my workout routine is doing full body workouts, at least trying to hit that 3 day a week mark. I've been falling short of that lately. But when you're doing full body routines, just try to do compound lifts to get the most out of it. So squats, deadlifts, bench or dumbbell press of some sort, overhead press, and then I'll usually work in a bicep, tricep, and calf exercise to try to round everything out. So yeah, that's about all I got for you, man. Manny Diamantopoulos asks, how is your 7-string playing coming along? Thanks for the question, Manny. I actually recently have been picking up my 7-string a little bit more. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I haven't really spent any additional time with it, trying to learn any 7-string riffs or anything like that. But there's really one main reason for that, and it's my 7-string really needs a setup. I need to get heavier strings on that guitar because those strings are just a little bit too floppy and I'm having a hard time getting it tuned and intonated with those strings on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and bump that string gauge up on there. And when I do that, I think I'm just going to really try to sit down with the guitar and learn a few riffs. A couple have caught my ear recently. Whitechapel's The Saw Is the Law is such a sick riff, and I feel like that's one that I can actually handle. A lot of people who play 7-strings feel like their playing ability is just way above mine. So like when I think about trying to learn 7-string riffs, it always just seems too daunting, but I'm really gonna try to pick out a couple that I can start working into my videos and start getting my 7-string chops up a little bit. You mentioned the Ben Eller trick of basically drop tuning that top string. That's pretty much exclusively how I play my 7-strings at the moment. So that's where I'm at, man. Thank you for the question. Thank you for checking in on that. All right, guys, the next set of questions comes from my Discord server, link below to that if you'd like to join up. Luke to Destroy asks, which Lunchbox sized heads truly go toe to toe with 50 watt and 100 watt full sized heads? All right, thanks for your question, man. And I would assume that you mean in a volume and headroom standpoint, because I mean, pretty much any Lunchbox amp that is designed for high gain sounds good doing high gain stuff at low to mid-level volumes. It's when you turn up the little EL84 Lunchbox amps to a high level that the power sections start just kind of falling apart on those. So as far as ones that kind of stand up in the headroom department, the MT15 is pretty much like the reigning champion. I think the output on that one is measured somewhere closer to like 20-some, 23, 24 watts or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but it's definitely higher than 15. And I actually ended up using that amp for a show one time in conjunction with my EVH 50 watt 5150, and it filled out the other side of the stage with ease. We were not being mic'd. We were cranking it up in a small venue. So that one definitely stands up. The next one that I would throw on that list is the Victory Kraken, the original Lunchbox size amp. That one is insanely loud, and while it's not my favorite tone overall, it's a little mid-heavy and a little noisy for me, it definitely stands up in the volume department. And I feel like it's one of those amps where you actually don't even need a boost with it, and you're probably better off without one. So if you wanted an all-in-one solution, that amp would be a great plug and play. Just, you know, you're probably gonna need a noise gate, but that thing definitely has tons of headroom. That was the first time I played a Lunchbox amp that held up in a band situation, and I was very seriously impressed with it from that standpoint. But again, not my favorite tone in the world, so it's why you guys haven't seen one here on the channel again yet. For me personally, that's about it. The other amps, for me personally, that's about it. A lot of the other smaller amps are in head shell packages, and they end up being quite a bit bigger and heavier than the little metal Lunchbox sized amps. So while they're still technically considered a small form factor amp, I don't really think that they fit into the Lunchbox category because they're just not small and not light enough in my personal opinion. Now, you guys may disagree with me on that, but some other small form factor amps that I think are awesome are the Angle Fireball 25. That thing is an absolute ripper and stands up in a band situation all day long. Marshall DSL 20 and JCM 800 Studio. Both of those amps get plenty loud, have a good amount of headroom for being smaller form factor amps. But those ones come pretty close to the size of the EVH 50 watt amps as it is, so they're not really considered Lunchbox amps in my opinion, and that's my answer on that. So there you go. Kevin asks, how did your participation in the video from Fluff about guessing which 5150 variant was the most to least expensive change your views on amps of different prices, if at all? Thanks for your question, Kevin. Didn't change my perspective whatsoever. You guys know, if you've been around the channel a long time, that I actually very firmly believe that most amplifiers are capable of great tones. It's just about how you dial them in and what you pair them with. I didn't always have walls of expensive amplifiers behind me. There was a time when all I could afford were $200 and $300 amps on the used market, so I got very used to dialing in my tone around a lower cost amplifier. Now, this was also back when you could get a PV Triple X for 300 bucks pretty much any day of the week, but this also includes Crate Blue Voodoos, this includes PV Valve Kings, it includes the Jet City amplifiers, like all those amps still on the budget side of things, on the more affordable side of things, and can all be easily dialed in to sound awesome. And I've said many times on this channel that people let price cloud their judgment on a piece of gear. People will literally think that something is amazing and that it's gonna be their dream tone just because it's expensive. And I can tell you from personal experience, man, it just doesn't work like that. If something sounds good, it is good, as long as it doesn't catch fire like those old Bugera amps. All right, guys, next question comes from my YouTube community post, and this actually comes from Adam Steele of Hot Pole Studios. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, I'm sure plenty of you guys are familiar with it. He does all sorts of awesome studio stuff on his end. He asks, how do you pick what amps to chase next? You must have been through a lot, so what's the driving factor now? That's a great question, Adam. Now, it pretty much just comes down to what haven't I tried yet. A lot of people think that I'm still chasing the perfect tone and stuff with constantly getting new amps in here all the time, and nah, man, like I've found a tone that I can be buried with, and it comes from multiple different amps, guitars, overdrives. Like I've really just kind of found out how to get my sound out of pretty much anything I play through. As many people will tell you in the comments on my other videos that I tend to make everything sound the same, but pretty much anybody does that because everybody kind of goes for their ideal tones when they're dialing in an amplifier. So with that being said, yeah, it really just comes down to what have I not got in the studio yet, what have I not personally played through yet, and what have I not done a demo for the YouTube channel of yet. I have literally all of my ground covered and then some with the selection of amplifiers that I have here at the moment, so I don't feel that I'm lacking in any aspect of tone if I'm trying to go for certain sounds or anything like that. And I'm just kind of, it's like Pokemon for me. You gotta catch them all, right? Like I gotta try every high gain amp out there just to have played it. It's like part of the goal for me. Part of the experience is trying new stuff. I don't expect every new thing that I get in here to blow me away, but I can at least say, okay, now I've played one, I know how it sounds, I know how to dial it in, and I can hopefully answer people's questions with either a video or them messaging me directly and cross it off my list. So yeah, that's pretty much all that it comes down to. I will say right now, I'm gassing really hard for a Mesa JP2C, a Dean Costello Heavy Metal Warfare, a Monomyth Skeleton Key, and a Wizard Modern Classic 2. So yeah, hopefully I can get at least one of those in by the end of the year. Last question comes from Burnt Gerbil, and he says, 1 amp, 1 cab, 1 pedal, 1 guitar, go. All right, so here we go. 1 amp would be my Mezzabarba Trinity because it covers beautiful cleans, covers awesome crunch and rock and roll tones, and it covers the brutal high gain stuff all with ease. Still one of my top amplifiers, absolutely love it. So that's an easy choice. 1 cabinet, this is a little tougher, but I think I'm gonna have to go with my Soldano 4x12 straight cab. This is a front-loaded cab with vintage 30s in it. Not only does it have, somehow it has a massive low end, even though it's smaller than a standard 412 cab, but it's front-loaded and that low end is very tight and very punchy, but you can make it really big if you want to as well. And I've just found that pretty much every amp that I put through it sounds huge and also cutting at the same time. So that's my cab. For my pedal, that's an easy one. It's still the Deadwell Duality DX. You guys asked me why I don't have that on my boost board in a lot of my videos recently, and it's just because people can't get them and they tend to get a little bit aggravated when they see that pedal or they see me recommending it and you can't actually get your hands on it. So here's to hoping that Daniel can get some more of those pedals out the door very soon. But that pedal has the gate, it's got the tube screamer, it's got the TC integrated preamp, and it's got the ability to use pretty much all those things at the same time. It still is the most impressive pedal on the market in my personal opinion, and it would cover all the ground that I would need it to cover. So easy choice for my 1 pedal. And 1 guitar, also an easy choice. My Balaguer Typhon. This guy, the one that you see in pretty much every video. And the reason that it's so easy for me is because this guitar sounds incredible, it's got great action, and it's got rock solid tuning. It feels really comfortable to play sitting or standing. Like, it just meets basically all the criteria of a great guitar for me. And every time I pick it up, I just am reminded how lucky I am to have Joe Balaguer as a friend. If you guys haven't checked out Balaguer Guitars, absolutely do that, because my two Balagers are two of my favorite guitars. I actually have a third one being delivered today that I'm really excited about. So yeah, those are my answers. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to have your question answered or you asked it and I did not get to it on today's episode, please make sure to keep dropping it in the YouTube community posts, in the Discord server, and in my Patreon, and I will do my best to get to it on future episodes. Don't forget about that Year of the Knife GoFundMe. They can use all the help that they can get right now, and I would really appreciate it if you guys go over there and drop a donation. And yeah, it's gonna do it for me, guys. Have a great weekend. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.